Attorney Adams to try to act like they're so interested in civil rights when they are not investigating Anthony Hill, a black man who was dragged 10 miles in South Carolina behind a pickup truck to his death, and a host of other human and civil rights violations that are going on against our people. But to try to play like they are the inheritors of the legacy of Martin Luther King is preposterous.
That is Malik Shabazz with the new Black Panther Party giving an interview on Russia TV. I believe that's what it was, Russia TV, about J. Christain Adams and this whole voter intimidation case. And J. Christain Adams is back with us again today. He's now with Pajamas Media, and he's been doing a media blitz. He spoke with Fox's Megyn Kelly, and he's been everywhere talking about this. And he threw some bombshells in his hearing the other day about this very case. Thanks so much for being back with us again this afternoon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So this is following this whole situation, discussing the new Black Panther Party, the voter intimidation case. You testified under oath before the U.S. Civil Rights Commission, and you were talking about the motor voter registration records that two elected officials, basically, and one including Robin Carnahan here in Missouri, they had not purged them for ineligible voters. And you were saying that this isn't going to be done in time at all for the November 2010 election. And you believe that this came from the administration.
Well, I don't know where it came from, except from the Deputy Assistant Attorney General. We have a breaking story at Pajamas Media right now about this, with the details on the directive, and it's an unfortunate situation where you have the potential of electoral fraud, and you don't have anybody willing to enforce the law.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, obviously, I mean that's their job, to make sure that they clean up the voter polls. And I'm actually shocked that this isn't done with more regularity. And in fact, one of the things that you were discussing, there were two elected officials. I know Robin Carnahan, the Secretary of State for Missouri. Robin Carnahan's name came up in this. Tell me a little bit about the elected officials who basically did not want to purge the motor voter rolls for this, did not want to purge the voting rolls of the felons and the dead people and the people who moved away. Can you give us a little insight on this?
Well, it was, for example, in Missouri, there were some counties where they had 100% or more registered voters, and they did actual people who were eligible to vote. This is not uncommon around the country. In other parts of the country, you have similar disparities between the population and the number of people registered to vote. When you have that situation, you have a problem, and you need a Justice Department who's willing to step up to the plate and file cases and investigate cases when you've got this sort of ridiculous numeric disparity between the number of voters and the number of living people.
How widespread is this?
Well, I think it's more widespread than people know. I think that there's a number of states that, if you look at public information, indicate there's a problem. But, the saddest part about it is that when you have problems in places like Michigan, where you have Detroit with, I think, 115% of population is registered to vote, you actually have the so-called civil rights groups swoop in and file lawsuits to block the states from actually doing anything about it. And that's exactly what's happened in Michigan. That's exactly what's happened in Colorado. And Lord knows where else it's going to happen before the November election.
Yeah, is there anything that anybody can do at this point in order to stop this or force these officials to actually go through and edit these rolls?
Well, one thing that you can is call the Justice Department and ask the Justice Department to start enforcing Section 8 of the Motor Voter Act, because they haven't filed any cases.
Wow. So yeah, that's something that because this is, I mean, we've had such widespread corruption here in St. Louis, and we had Acorn employees here was in St. Louis Acorn Group that were charged with voter fraud. They pled guilty to voter fraud. We had one of the people who's running for a Senate seat, Robin Carnahan here in Missouri, who has some very close ties with Acorn. This is all incredibly. We had dead people voting here, and I know in Illinois it's probably even worse. But we had dead people, felons, and I've read even in places pets have been voting, and the pets, they obviously all vote Democrat. So it's incredibly interesting. Now, you've said that there are even more Department of Justice employees who are willing to back up your statements.
Oh, and some of them, at least one of them, is under subpoena right now, and the department's not letting him testify.
Wow. This is such an unbelievable miscarriage of justice. It's very difficult to even get my head around it. I want to ask you too a little bit about because we had a gentleman call in. His name's Damon, and in fact he's online with us again. He was asking what the importance was because I played the video, and I'm sure you've seen this, the documentary with Missouir Shabazz. Now this was the young man who was seen in the video, the very case that you were involved with, the voter intimidation case, standing in front of the polling place with the billy club and hollering at people as they walk by. The same case that Eric Holder's Department of Justice dismissed. They went ahead and just let him off. But there was footage from this documentary that was played at his April hearing, wherein he was talking about how they should kill white people and kill babies and all of this. Explain to me when that's played at the hearing, what is the purpose of that, just for the listening audience?
Well, it's to show whether or not a reasonable person in Philadelphia would find this individual intimidating or not. If you have some clown like him saying that, you've obviously got a problem.
Yes.
Listen, I'm going to have. You'll forgive me. You can hear a phone in the background.
You're in high
You'll
demand.
hear another phone ringing while I'm doing this interview. I'm sorry, but the problem is that Malik Zulu Shabazz, the clown that you had at the top of the segment, he is a well-known anti-Semite. Will rage on about the Jews, and he must have cleaned himself all up for that Russian TV interview.
Oh, we have some audio where he's also declaring war on Glenn Beck and the Tea Party, and then they're talking about how they're ready to rumble and all of this stuff. I think he was on good behavior for that particular. It was with Russia Today. Yes, he was on good behavior with that. But that goes in the line with, do you find this man intimidating? He has a history of trying to intimidate people. He's the guy that's in the middle of all of this. He was standing in the street hollering at people, hollering at an interracial couple while screaming about he's got to kill babies and all of this stuff. And it shocks me that even with that footage being played at that trial, this was all still just thrown out.
Yeah, well, welcome to America. I mean, all we can do is speak up and tell the truth and let people know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Christain Adams, you're writing for Pajamas Media, pajamasmedia.com. Everyone go and check that out. Thanks so much for joining me again this afternoon and
Take care. Bye-bye.
Your perspective. Thanks.